I was just talking to my wife this morning, and we were talking about stages of growth kind of being similar to a marathon runner. If I undertook the effort to run a marathon, the first day, a mile would be stress on my body. But after months and months and months of training, I could maybe run 15, 20 miles and my body could handle that stress. So it's about recalibrating to the difficulties as you scale and grow.
They say it's lonely at the top. They're right. But you don't have to scale your company alone. Welcome to the Scaling CEO. I'm Glenn Gow, the CEO Success Coach. On this podcast, I sit down with top performing CEOs to uncover the hidden patterns and frameworks behind their success so you can avoid common pitfalls and accelerate your company's growth. Now, on to the show.
My guest today is Elias Berlinger, the CEO and co-founder of MyMusic Workshop. For over 16 years, he has been on a mission to make learning music accessible for fun and kids. This isn't a typical venture-backed rocket ship story. Elias has meticulously built his company, an online subscription-based learning platform, almost entirely through organic growth. He's grown it to thousands of paying members and has a thriving YouTube channel with over 12 million views. Now, after more than a decade and a half of steady, patient scaling, he's at an inflection point, actively seeking a strategic partner to help take his mission to the next level. This conversation is about the intersection of passion and business. It's for anyone who has poured their life into an idea and now faces the challenge of scaling not just a company, but a personal mission. Elias, welcome.
Glenn, happy to be here. Thank you so much.
You've been building MyMusic Workshop for over 16 years, a lifetime
Right.
in the startup world. You've grown it organically to many thousands of members. What's the single biggest insight you've gained about scaling a company?
Persistence, I think, and keeping your eyes on the prize, right? You have to have energy through the up times and the down times. So as you attempt to scale, you have to keep that vision in your focus, and the why is important. Why am I doing this? So that's always been a big one for us. We're kind of a mission-based company, if you will.
Right. And I think that's a superpower for companies to be a mission-based company. But tell me a little bit more about in the downtimes. That's what CEOs want to know about. How do you keep that persistence going and that attitude of focus going?
That's a great question. The downtimes are an opportunity to kind of re-examine things, both on a physical outside level and on the inside. A lot of times it causes us to re-examine even our beliefs. What do we believe about what's possible? What do we believe about the future of our business? Why we do things. So if we use downtimes, if you will, as opportunities to grow and look deeper into ourselves. And then, of course, look at what we're doing, what strategies we have in place, and understand that there's always a way to correct, right? For me, I have a strong belief in the potential of our business for growth. And if something isn't growing like I expect it to, I don't think something's wrong necessarily, but I realize there may be a pivot necessary. And I'm always
Right.
looking for the next opportunity to do things better, more intelligently, more efficiently.
That's great. I love that approach. How can we continually improve?
Right. Right. And because small business and entrepreneurship is just as much, at least in my case, about personal growth as it is about the company's growth.
That's amazing you say that. So I wanted to talk to you about your growth path and your scaling path. One of the things I've noticed in coaching CEOs is that as the company grows, the CEO themselves have to grow. They have to take on new capabilities, new ways of thinking. And that's what I work on with them. But tell me about your scaling process. What have you gone through?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a journey. Just as a little background, as far as what my music workshop is we were an in-person teaching business for the majority of that 16 years, for
Wow.
about 11 of those years up until 2020. And we actually pivoted into the online space that you described at the beginning of our podcast today because of COVID. We were
Yeah.
living in California. We were teaching a bunch of classes. We had a franchise program. We're growing nicely and had over the years meticulously grown, not taken on any debt or any investors at that point. And everything came crashing down.
I
We could
bet.
no longer teach classes. Our franchisees couldn't teach. It was a real difficult time for us. And I say us because it's my wife who works in the business along with me. And that was a personal growth opportunity right there because it was an inflection point and a reflection point where we had to decide whether we wanted to continue. And if we were going to continue, we had to decide which way we were going to continue. What is a new medium? What's a new opportunity for us to grow? And to essentially, we knew that we had something good. We had a great product. We have a passion, a vision, a really cool curriculum, a way of teaching kids. How do we connect that with the kids that we know want this?
Right.
And online became that place. So that was a tough time for us, but also a time where we had readjusted our thinking, where we learned new skills. I think skill building can be very interesting, just in a practical sense. We learned how to shoot video. We learned how to lighting with a green screen, which is its own crazy thing, sound and lights. And I mean, we're doing it on our Android cell phones at that point in
Oh,
time
wow.
in our garage. We're like, okay, let's see what we can figure out and do. And one of those videos ended up being this viral piano lesson video that has, I think now 2-3 million views. And we were really proud of that because it came from a place of wanting to get back out there and get back on our feet. So that was one part of the growth journey, but it continues to happen. The growth, I mean, I think, I was just talking to my wife this morning and we were talking about stages of growth kind of being similar to a marathon runner. Um, Running a marathon puts a lot of stress on the body. Running a
Oh, yeah.
mile would put stress on my body. But if I undertook the effort to run a marathon, the first day, a mile would be stress on my body. But by month 3, month 4, month 5, I might be able to run 5-6 miles. And that stress that was an immense stress at the beginning is now less of a stress on my body. And after months and months and months of training, I could maybe run 15-20 miles and my body could handle that stress. So it's about recalibrating to the difficulties as you scale and grow.
That's really a great analogy. I'm gonna use that one.
It's all yours. It's all yours. Yeah.
So you grew your company from almost entirely on organic growth, which requires incredible patience. Now you're explicitly looking for a growth partner. So for the
Yeah.
CEO out there who's struggling with the same transition, how do you know when slow and steady is no longer the right strategy to scale?
I mean, it's a good question. There's a lot of factors. I think it's individual desire, your own vision. Um, for me, growth for the sake of growth is not a priority. It's more of growth in terms of what opportunity I think our business has in the market and the customers that we can serve. And growth for me allows us to serve more people with what I strongly believe is a great product for folks and for families, for kids wanting to get into learning music. So in the subscription business, you have your own numbers that you can look at. You can see, there's revenue ceilings that you reach based on where your churn rate is, based on the new customers that you bring in from your different sources on a month over month basis. So you can do those numbers and kind of understand where you may plateau without changing one of those factors,
Right.
lowering your churn or increasing the number of customers that come in on the front side. And at a certain point, if you envision growth past a number of subscribers or a revenue number, um, and you think you're going to hit that standstill, you start to think of other ways that you can grow. And that's usually an infusion of capital. It's also getting more creative and bringing in folks who can help you in your scaling efforts through whether it's new organic strategies, just getting out there. You want to be in front of customers and the right customers. So how do
Right.
we do that? And when you kind of reached your limit in being able to do that, that's when you consider taking on not only capital investment, but an investor who may have some experience in the space and can help from a directorship or advisorship position as well.
Well, let's talk about that transition. What is your biggest fear in shifting from a purely organic, mission led strategy to a more aggressive, data driven, paid growth model, which is what I think you're talking about is the potential direction?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that in smaller ways. We don't put a whole ton into massive fast scaling. This is a it's a family business. My wife and I have run it ourselves and not had any partners. We've been very kind of driven to figure things out and learn and to grow and to be steady and to be conservative in our growth. So we don't, you have to have a firm foundation to grow something tall, right? A tree has to have deep roots to have tall and high branches. And a lot of the growth that we have experienced has come from attempting to deepen those roots first. So
Right.
when it comes to the next level of scaling, for me, I mean, I wouldn't call it a fear. I would call it kind of describe it as what I'm looking for more so. And that is a really aligned strategic partner who sees or who has similar values and not only sees My Music Workshop as an opportunity for growth, capital growth to earn money, which is great. I'm all for that. But also to grow the mission, to reach more people, and to kind of align with the heart of what our business has been from the beginning. That's the type of partner that we seek. So I wouldn't frame it as a fear. I would more as a caution of not wanting to move forward with anybody or any type of investor that wasn't that type of person or fund or anything along those lines.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So your background is a mix of business administration and percussion from the Musicians Institute.
Yeah,
That's an unusual combination of spreadsheets and drumsticks. So
great. Yeah, I love it.
how does that musician in you influence the CEO, and how is the artist or has the artist ever disagreed with the businessman on the right way to grow the company? How do you take these two different ways of looking at the world and come up with an answer?
Yeah, I love that. The spreadsheet and the drumsticks. Totally. They're always at odds with each other. I mean, it's a constant struggle because again, it sounds like something I talk with my wife a lot about. And when you are an artist mindset, you tend to have a creative mind, and a creative mind wants to go in any direction that it feels like it wants to go in. That is the true like breadth of a creative mind. However, even if you look at music, songs aren't 17-minute orchestral opus type pieces that stray in tempo and time signature and instrumentation. Generally, songs that a lot of people want to listen to are 3 or 4 minutes. So
Right.
they're in a box. There's a formula. There's a verse chorus formula and pattern that songs are written in. So I have to use the creativity, but inside the box of what works, inside of strategic um, plans and systems that I know work in business. So they can the creative part and the strategic part of me can work together, but it's an effort to make sure I do it in the right way. So if we're going to run ad campaigns or even create a new video for YouTube, we want to be kind of at the crossroads of those two things.
Beautiful. I read on your blog that for you, music is about confidence, creativity, and connection. So, as a CEO, given that you have to scale yourself alongside the company, how have you personally applied those principles to your own growth as a leader over the last 16 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of times on the creativity side of things, you find new levels of being creative through limitation. Like I mentioned, when we pivoted from it being an in-person program to an online subscription-based program, a video style, but now we're app style learning, I call it, where there's a lot of interactive components. It's not just us to the user. The user actually interacts with the program as well. When you have that kind of limitation imposed on you, it's like forced creativity, forced growth. So that's how it looks sometimes in business and in life. And I think it goes right back to the metaphor that we just talked about with the song and the song structure and the time
Yeah.
limitation.
Yeah.
It's the idea of creativity coming from limitation as opposed to limitation stifling creativity. So I think there's a lot of parallel in music and in business there. I'm always looking for those connections so I can make sense of how business works because I come from, like you mentioned, a musical background.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Now, I want to talk about my favorite topic in the world of CEOs, and that's AI.
Yeah.
And when I am coaching my CEOs, I talk to them about two main things in AI. One is, what are the opportunities to operationalize, to change what we're doing inside the company to be more efficient and more effective using AI? And the
Mhm.
second is, how do we get this into our solution, our product, our offering?
Right. Right.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the world of AI, because it is changing things very rapidly, as I'm sure you know.
Yes, yes. That's a fascinating question, and everybody is talking about this right now. Of course, it's right in front of our nose. Everyone's using it. Businesses are scaling from AI. The shape of business and industry is changing right before our eyes, like nothing I've ever witnessed. Um, so, in terms of how I like to use AI inside of our company, I like to use it to scale our own personality as opposed to letting AI kind of be the personality of what we
Uh-huh.
do. So, for example, when it comes to blogs, sometimes it can help with blog topics. We can do deep research on the things that parents are talking about related to music education.
Ah,
What are the problems that parents want addressed from a music teaching program, and how can we solve those problems? So it's a lot easier to do that type of research. And
right,
even frankly, sometimes, I like writing our blogs organically, but sometimes you just don't know the best way to say things, or sometimes you don't know what's the next direction, or how do I be more concise
right,
about this. So we use AI. I'll use AI sometimes to go back and forth, but I always reshape it before it shows up anywhere for my music workshop. I don't let the AI version of something be the final of something.
right.
It's kind of an idea back and forth with AI, because I think, with the size of our business, um, we are going to be successful by continuing to show the heart of who we are and a personal human approach. That's who
Sure,
we are.
sure,
So instead of fearing AI, I want to use it to enhance that, because a lot of other larger companies, I think, are going to really lean on AI. And at a certain point, they may tip too far in that direction to where they're all about scaling, all about growth, and they lose that human connection side of things. And we're not at liberty to be that large and to scale to those levels at this point, but it's still the personality of who we are. I think there will probably be a rebound at some point, um, probably quickly, when everybody is seeing the same blogs being written, the same things happening in companies, and they can tell that it's AI driven. They're
right.
going to look for something more natural, more human. Um, and I think there's a balance. We can use AI to help us scale, to help us see new things. But I think that human side of things is always going to be uh, what we're interested in, what people are interested in.
That's great. And do you see AI becoming a more of a part of your offering? Let's call it customization of um, lessons for students, or enabling less students to use AI to develop their musical capabilities. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I think those are great questions, and I do see that as a part of things. If we can be more efficient and take what we do and make it a better product for our customers, but keep kind of our core values inside of it, then I love using AI for that. If we can have new directed paths and plans for our students learning inside of our program, because there is an aspect of AI that can pick up on what students are doing and help them along the path, instead of, it allows scaling. It allows, that to happen in real time, which is exciting. And I do appreciate what AI can bring from that perspective. So yeah, there's always, like, going back to the creative thing, but creative brain is always looking for opportunities to utilize AI in those sorts of ways.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, Elias, that is all I have for today. And
Fantastic.
what a pleasure to get to know you. I really appreciate the sharing of your thinking behind things. I think there are a lot of lessons in today's podcast for other CEOs. So I appreciate that.
And it was a pleasure to get to meet you as well, Glenn, and to spend a few minutes talking. I appreciate it, and thank you.
And tell the audience how they could reach you.
Yeah, you can find us in our program at mymusicworkshop.com. We've got lessons for kids ages 4 to 12. We offer piano lessons, drum lessons, ukulele lessons, singing lessons, and general music lessons in a pretty cool app style learning program where kids can interact and learn and jam the music that they've or use the skills that they've just learned to jam along with real music and really enjoy growth in music and getting an appreciation for it on top of just learning an instrument.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I
My
appreciate it.
pleasure. And thanks again.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Scaling CEO. If you found this valuable, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with a fellow CEO who could benefit. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please give us a quick rating as it really helps more people find the show. I'm Glenn Gow, the CEO Success Coach. See you next time for more proven strategies to grow your business and leadership.